Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to CWK Live. This is your weekly exclusive live Star Wars place to talk all things Star Wars in our wonderful Star Wars community. I am your host, Dan Z, excited and thrilled, of course, to be talking Star Wars with each and every one of you. Jeff says I've got the best room ever. Well, thank you, sir, and it is great to have you on the show, my friend. Hello, Jamie. It's wonderful to see you, buddy. Definitely great to see you. We've got all of our dear friends here. Colby is here. Hello, Colby. Mary is here. Can't believe it's almost September either. Hopefully we'll get some cooler weather because of that. Daniel is here. Hello, Daniel. Minta is here. We've got Ross. Happy Monday to you, Ross. And, of course, Mason Z piloting Mrs. Zare's Facebook account. Well, Jeff, it's really an honor to have you, buddy. Jeff has got a great fun podcast as well. Colby says he finished off his workday, so all of you, no list from me, but I'm looking forward to all of yours. Well, Colby, no problem. If you think of some, feel free to chime in. We'll certainly love to hear from you. Tonight's show is going to be a really fun one. We've got a number of things to discuss. Books. In fact, I've got a copy of it right here. This is not the actual one that we are giving away. Sean Jackson is the author and creator of this. I'll just give you a little quick hint of like what these mazes are like. They're beautiful. They're amazing snapshots into the world of Star Wars. At the end, there's an answer key, of course, but they're tough. Like, look at this Ewok one. They're tough. Mason has had a ball with these. He's done them with his grandparents and had a blast. But they're definitely challenging, but they're also a ton of fun. All right, Brian is here waxing some Star Wars poetry for us. Good to have you, Brian. And, of course, Josh is here, too. We're excited to have you, buddy. The winner of Star Wars Mazes from Coffee with Kenobi and Chronicle Books is Jason Deal, Diehl. Jason, if you are listening, expect an email from me in Chronicle Books very, very soon. Congratulations to you, my friend. Thank you, and congratulations to everyone who entered. It's a great way to have something fun to talk about that's positive in the world of Star Wars. It's exciting. If you didn't win the book, be sure to pick it up. It's in bookstores everywhere. It's really, really nice. Speaking of new and exciting books, on September 7th, just got this today, the Star Wars Life Day Treasury from George Mann and Kevin Scott. So I just got it today, but it's fun. It's a little bit bigger than the normal ones, but it's gorgeous. And George Mann and Kevin Scott are awesome. So it's going to be a fun book. I can't wait to read that and review that for all of you on the show. Speaking of, a lot of you have been asking, when are you going to talk about the new wave of the High Republic books? Well, we're going to be doing that very soon. In fact, I'm pretty sure that next week on Coffee with Kenobi, we'll be looking at more of the High Republic. We haven't talked about it in a while. I like to give people a chance to read the books and catch up. And hopefully you're able to do that. All right. So let's go ahead and look at what is brewing in the world of Star Wars this week. All right, so what you may have noticed behind me is this. This, of course, people who are fans of the Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels are very familiar with this iconic, unique lightsaber. This is the Legacy lightsaber. These are the lightsabers you can only get at Galaxy's Edge, at Disneyland, and at Walt Disney World Hollywood Studios. This is the Darksaber. It's very nice. It's elegant. It's heavy. This screw down here is actually where you unscrew it to change the batteries, by the way. But I'll try to show you all the angles of this thing. It is stunning. And I want to give a very special shout out to Matthew Graken, who was on Coffee with Kenobi a couple weeks ago. He and his family were actually at in Batu, and he told me it was there, and I had him pick one up for me, and I'm just very grateful. Thank you so much, Matthew. I love this thing. I appreciate it very much. So this is the hilt itself. I've put a lot of pictures of this on Facebook and on our Instagram. We had some stories about it as well. This is a stand that it comes with. Usually they don't come with stands, but this one does. So you just plop it right in there, so to speak. Now, as with all legacy lightsabers, it needs a blade. All the blades are interchangeable on all of these things. But on this one, in fact, I'm going to make the screen a little bit bigger so you can see it a lot better. On this one, the special blade itself is separate because, of course, there's nothing like it. I'll get a little bit closer to the microphone so you can hear this. There's nothing like this one. Doesn't fit with anything else. All right, so here it is. This is the blade itself. From the pictures, it seems small. It's not small, actually. Here is the hilt, and then the blade is much, much, much larger than it. So I'm going to attach this thing to it. And if you listen closely, you can hear the little clicking sound. That means the blade is attached. I'll try that again. There's that sound. So here is a button you push to take the blade out. And here is the button to push it in. I'm going to turn this thing on now so you can just enjoy the sound. Now listen to the sound it makes when I turn it off. It's got that little, like a cricket or something in here. I'll turn it on again so you can hear how it sounds when I turn it off. Love it. It's very, very satisfying. Thank you, Josh. Thank you. It is an amazing, amazing thing. I love these legacy lightsabers. I've become something of a, oh gosh, someone who buys too many of them. I've been that person, but for me lately, my collection is all about quality, not quantity. And I think these legacy lightsabers are so incredibly unique. Naturally, it is very lifelike, and it sounds like it does in The Mandalorian. We checked it. We watched Disney Plus episodes of the Disney Plus Mandalorian episodes to hear it, and boy, is it stunning. It's very lifelike. I'm not ashamed of it. It's really great stuff. Really great. And Amber, don't be sorry for being late. We're happy to have you on the show naturally. So if you want to get a legacy lightsaber, there's only one place to do it. Only one place to do it. And if you're gonna book a trip to Walt Disney World, naturally, I highly suggest our travel partner, MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. They are amazing. They will give you a no cost, no obligation quote to go anywhere you want, not only to Disney, but also somewhere where you're talking, or if you want to go anywhere where you want to go on vacation. It doesn't really matter where it is. It can be Disney. It doesn't have to be Disney. That's from I meant to put this up, actually. Speaking of MEI, they're still taking interest. If you want to be added to the interest list for the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser 2-night adventure coming in the fall at Walt Disney World, if you're ready to take a trip that is out of this world, email starcruiser@mei-travel.com to be added to the interest list. I've certainly done that. I highly recommend that you do too. And again, this is a no cost, no obligation situation. So that's a good thing. You just have a chance, if you decide you want to do it, to be able to sign up for that. So that's something that I've done, and I've talked about this. We're looking at probably 2023 to do a Coffee with Kenobi trip on the Halcyon, the Galactic Star Cruiser, so we'll see. Got a question here from Josh. It says, I want to mention, I was watching part of the Galaxy's Edge tour he did on CWK Live a few weeks ago. Wasn't able to attend that day, and today for fun I decided to watch it. It really makes me feel like I was there again. I must say I was getting a little emotional. I'm also working on building a minifigure scale of Galaxy's Edge out of Lego, and the tour is actually a big help for reference purposes. Well, Josh, that is, first of all, amazing. I think that's so cool. I'm glad it could help you, and definitely when you build this thing, I can't wait to see it. Be sure to post it in the CWK Cafe, our exclusive. It's not really exclusive. Why do I always say that? It's our Facebook group. It is our Facebook group to go and share your thoughts in a positive, spoiler-free, family-friendly environment. Post stuff from your collection, all that stuff. So when you get that, Josh, post that in the CWK Cafe. That would be very, very cool. Josh, you've got a lot of legacy lightsabers, I'm sure. So we'll talk about the Hardblade later. And I always say I got to make videos and review these amazing lightsabers because they are very, very stunning. But the main reason you came tonight to CWK Live was to do our top fives, which of course every week we do a top five. This week is a fun one for a really, really special show that came out last week. It was the Disney Gallery's The Mandalorian Season 2 finale. This one was exclusively about the return of Luke Skywalker in the Star Wars universe in live action. Mark Hamill, ladies and gentlemen. So let's jump down into it right now. It was, for me and Mason, we loved it. I found myself feeling the exact same emotions I felt when I first saw this episode for the very first time. Very, very special, very nostalgic. I was absolutely thrilled about it. I mean, really, it just doesn't get much better than this. Let's see. Where is my camera? Let's get that camera up here. Well, either way, let's see if the camera works here. There I am. There I am. I'll have to fix that later. All right, hello, James. Good to have you on the show, my friend. Number 5 for me from the Mandalorian Season 2 finale, Disney Gallery, is the digital technology. The way that they were able to broadcast and show us how digital technology is bringing the story to life in a way we didn't think possible. To see a young Mark Hamill, it's just so stunning. Like the facial software that they use, I can't think of the exact technical term right now, so I apologize for that. But it's absolutely spectacular. I've never seen anything like it. The things that they can do digitally are just stunning. And the fact that they're able to tell the Star Wars stories they want to tell, and you're not taken out of the story because you're noticing it's an effect, I think is pure brilliance. Number 5 for Mary. The comparisons to Fantasia and talking about the deep fake dangers. Nice. Yeah, you know what? When we watched that, Mary Mason said, I've never seen Fantasia. We should watch that, Dad. And we should. It's great. Yeah, all the stuff with Mickey and Yensid, who was the wizard in Fantasia, which of course Disney trivia buffs know Yensid is Disney spelled backwards. That's the name of the wizard in Fantasia. So that was really cool. Nicholas says, voice cameos. Finding out that Mark Hamill had voice cameos in both The Mandalorian and The Rise of Skywalker. Yes, that was cool. And actually finding out who he voiced was pretty spectacular. Jamie, number 5, not just the willingness, but the enthusiasm that Mark has to continue the character of Luke and bring it forward. Isn't it wonderful, Jamie? I mean, this whole thing, there was so much nostalgia and love and respect for this character and Star Wars in general. I was very moved by that. Josh says, Plo Koon, I thought it was very funny how they used Plo Koon as a precaution against such leaks and such, even going as far as making concept art since Dave likes him so much. That was great too. I did get a big kick out of that. And Mason loves Plo Koon. A lot of people do. Plo Koon would have been great. Not as effective as Luke, but still fun. Number 5 for Amber, the talk about the deep fake dangers. Yes, definitely. I like that as well. Number 5 for Ross. Behind the scenes professionals that work really hard for us getting a moment in the spotlight. Isn't it amazing? The passion here. Daniel's number 5, blockchain technology in the show and in current day. Yeah, the tech in this is just, it is hard to fathom. It's like a masterclass in digital film, really. James, I only have one since I didn't see it, but I love the Plo Koon on Mark Hamill set. I wish he could have survived somehow. Yeah, that would be cool. I'm sure Dave wishes that as well. And by the way, Mason and I made a top 5 together. So when you see my top 5, they're also Mason's as well. And Mason, of course, buddy, feel free to chime in at any time. Number 5 for Brian, Sorcerer Mickey is my favorite Disney character. It was great to hear Favreau use the analogy of Fantasia in the Star Wars universe. I love Sorcerer Mickey. I went through a spell because I worked at Disney in the mid-90s, and I went through like a collecting Sorcerer Mickey thing because I worked at Hollywood Studios. At that time, it was called Disney's MGM Studios. So I love that too. So it was very fun to see and to hear. Okay, number 4. Number 4 for me is Hamill on the set. On the set of The Mandalorian in his black costume. Of course, now they reveal that actually some of his costume was brownish. Was a surprise, but it wasn't a surprise because I remember when the figure came out from Return of the Jedi, his cloak was brown. In fact, I'm looking at it right now. His cloak is clearly brown. So it kind of just brought that all back. But seeing Mark Hamill on the set, just knowing that he's still a part of it, you know, obviously he's much older, but seeing him in that outfit was just so special, so spectacular to me. I couldn't get enough of it. I kept saying out loud, I can't believe I'm seeing this. I kept saying to Mason, I can't believe that I'm seeing this because it was just really special, really special. So let us know, what is your number 4? I mean, the nostalgia on this episode just another level, which actually inspired this week's episode of Coffee with Kenobi. Ross is number 4. Favreau and Peyton Reed taking Grogu to Mark Hamill's house. I mean, think about that sentence, Ross. Does it get much better than that? I mean, it was true. It was wonderful. Mary has a similar. Number 4, Mark Hamill with Grogu at his home. Yeah, mine was on set, but this is him actually at his house. Nicholas says the ILM effort. The amount of effort put in to make Luke look younger is amazing. Deep fake and de-aging was tested, and Mark Hamill was even put inside of something known as an egg. Which eliminated Hamill's face. Spectacular, right? Absolutely spectacular. James, are they made his attire black from Return of the Jedi to make you think he was going to the dark side like his father before him? That's definitely one school of thought, and that's addressed in this episode a little bit as well. But I can honestly say, and I can't speak for everybody naturally, that would be a logical fallacy, but for me and my friends, when Jedi came out, no one for a second thought that Luke was turned to the dark side. No one thought it for 1 second. Maybe people think it now, or maybe some people did, but me and my circle of friends, we never thought that. But the literary device is there, and that's cool. By the way, notice, if you're digging the CWK Live logo, which we've now got finally on our screens for Coffee with Kenobi, you can get this t-shirt at our Coffee with Kenobi TeePublic store. So be sure to check that out. coffeewithkenobi.com/shop. I love these shirts. They're very comfortable. They look great too. Let's see. Josh, number 4. I really like how they acknowledge the leaks and rumors that happen for season 2. It's not often they acknowledge this in an official outlet, but when they do, it's important. The reasons they talked about are reasons I don't like rumors and leaks. And Josh, you're in the right place. I am very anti-spoiler, very anti-speculation, because I just like to enjoy stuff. I wish I would know that Rosario Dawson was going to be in it, or Tamara Morrison was going to be in it, or Timothy Oliphant was going to be in it. I wish that I didn't know about any of them, because it's fun to get those surprises. And this is a great example of how powerful those surprises can be when kept close to the vest. Mary says, Ross, great minds, Ross. Yes, that's right. I agree. You two are awesome. Daniel's number 4, the whole Plo Koon cover. That would have been very interesting if they had used him. And I think people would have been not equally thrilled. Nothing can match Luke Skywalker, but people would have been very excited. Amber's number 4, using Plo Koon to cover for Luke. Definitely. Jamie's number 4, discussion about the music and how up until that point that Luke entered, only original score for the show had been used, and the powerful nature of switching to John Williams' score from A New Hope for the first time. And Jamie, I'm so glad you brought that up. And when this was said on the show, it didn't register with me initially, and I was like, wait, that is true. Because I think we just sort of, at least I do, I take for granted when I see Luke, I'm expecting to hear the Force theme when he's looking at the twin suns. And the fact that they saved it for that was very powerful and very effective, because Ludwig Göransson's score is second to none, except for a guy I like to call John Williams. So when you get the emotional heft of John Williams' score back into this, it's gold. Absolute gold. Brian's number 4, Dave Filoni's drawing for Jon Favreau, R2 and Grogu. Since John is such an R2 fan, it shows the deep connection between the two. That one, as I said earlier, Mason and I have the same top 5 for this week. But Mason really wanted that drawing on there too. I'm guessing Mason would probably have that 1 or 2 because he loved that so much. It was great. Daniel, the black Jedi suit was and is still rocking. It's one of the best, isn't it? It's absolutely iconic. James, I think Mace Windu has a better chance of surviving than Plo. Maybe Windu will return in the Obi-Wan series. Maybe. I just can't imagine, from a storytelling perspective, why they would do that. I feel like some characters need to stay, as was resolved. I mean, a lot of people love Mace. I love Mace Windu. But man, he had a pretty rough go of things. I can't imagine he's going to come back. I feel like it would take away from Revenge of the Sith a little bit. So we'll see. Josh, number 3, ethics. With deep fake test advancing rapidly, it's very refreshing to hear people talk about using ethics and being responsible with the new technology. There are plenty of times it's being used in ways that are morally questionable, so I really like how they talked about doing it in a way that was right and morally correct. I was moved by the ethos, the pathos really of that, and the responsibility we have just because you have technology, how should you use it? And they talked a lot about the ethics of that, and I thought that was really great. Well, Josh has moved on to 3, so I guess I better move on to 3 as well. Number 3 for me is Hamill and Grogu. Ross and I talked about this, but But seeing Mark Hamill at his home, holding the puppet Grogu it was special. It was special. And it didn't register with me until that moment that of course it has to be Luke, because besides the fact that he's Luke and his power in the Force, also because he knows Yoda, the Yoda species, so well. So of course he'll have a kinship with Grogu because it reminds him of his master Yoda. So wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. And again, seeing those two together was just spectacular. Just spectacular. All right. James, I think everyone feels like he can survive since Maul survived, but even that's different. Maul was brought back because fans wanted him back. That's true. And Maul used the dark side to come back. So I hopefully Mace wouldn't do that. But that's a good point, buddy. That's a good point, James. Ross, the PTSD of saying Luke Skywalker to those few who were in the know. Yeah, you couldn't just say the name. It was almost like Voldemort. You can't say the name because they didn't want anybody to know anything. Nicholas, Luke's voice was entirely digital. When I had first watched The Mandalorian, I assumed that Mark Hamill has actually spoken Luke's dialogue, that they use a radio drama as some of the sources. Wow, isn't that great? Again, Matthew Wood is just an absolute genius. The fact that he threw that in there was amazing. Brian's number 3, Peyton Reed retelling the story of how he was told that Luke was coming back and making sure it wasn't a joke and geeking out like a little kid. And I know. And I always feel like Peyton Reed was this close to just breaking down in tears of joy because of that. It was very cool. Peyton Reed's a cool dude. Mary's number 3, talking about the John Williams music. I don't think I had thought about the original music not being used prior to that. I had to go back and watch the actual episode to experience it. Yeah, I agree. I said that earlier. It didn't hit me, and then when I saw this, it totally hit me, and it was pretty neat. Amber's number 3, the power of John Williams and how the only time they used music from the OT was when Luke came on. Yep, great. Just like Mary talked about, so fun and very effective. Number 3 for Daniel, the use of R2 and the emotion it brings. Then add Grogu and Mando to the mix. Need to learn about how they pose R2 as they did for Wicket. I know, that was cool. I love hearing things like that. Add the frame of reference. James, no worries, man. Happy to have you here. Stick around and hang out with us, and then be sure to watch it later because you're going to love it. And I can't wait, James, to hear what you think. Be sure to let us know in the CWK Cafe as well. So again, Mason's number 3 is the same as mine. Hamill and Grogu on the set together. But let's go ahead and jump into number 2. Number 2 for me is the Filoni Ahsoka analysis. Now, Dave Filoni talks about Luke's lightsaber fighting and Luke Skywalker's style of fighting, and I never thought about what he said. So I wrote it down here. I'm going to read to you what it was actually said. Okay, this is what he says. He says, this is Dave Filoni talking. He says, quote, "We had a whole discussion about it would be easy to just make him," meaning Luke, "so over the top, skilled. But I was like, what's interesting is he's had training, but I don't know who's been teaching him sword fight training lately. So we had to have a style that was better than what we saw in Jedi, but fundamentally still the same tree of sword fighting technique. And his technique and Ahsoka's technique should be very different. And technically, she's had vastly more training than he ever has. She's his senior, which is difficult for people to remember because of when these characters were created. So a lot of consideration was given to every detail." So I read that and I hear Dave Filoni saying that and I think, brilliant. Of course that's correct. Of course that's correct. Yes, Luke was created, 40, 30 some years before, but in the story, as we've been paying attention, we know that Luke had some very brief formal training from Yoda and hardly anything from Obi-Wan. Ahsoka trained her entire life to be a Jedi. She better be better at lightsaber skill as far as the skill and the training of using a saber. It would be disingenuous and sort of anti-intellectual, to be honest, if she didn't. So to hear him say it and put it like that was extraordinary. And again, I love getting a chance to rethink about this mythology through the way that Dave and everyone talks about it. So fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. All right, Jamie's number 3, the secrecy in today's world of social media. It's impressive that they not only kept the secret, but there was a willingness across the board to do so and protect it. Yes, and Jamie, I maintain that episode was so special to me and to Mason when we watched it because we didn't know it was going to happen. Extraordinary. Number 2 for Mary, the last 5 or so minutes of the episode, Dave and John's ending monologue, so good. Yeah, I almost put Dave's ending monologue on mine, but it was in the like the teaser trailer, so I didn't, but I agree, it's wonderful. Ross is number 2, the B-roll of footage of everyone seeing George Lucas, Kathleen Kennedy, the actors, more of natural setting. This episode said so much about the family and love of Star Wars without needing to voice it. Yes, this episode, and I'm going to talk about this a lot for my number 1, so I'll try to save it. But basically, yes, Ross, you nailed it. There's so much joy and nostalgia for Star Wars here. James says, so he's saying Ahsoka and Luke met. We really need to see that, just her seeing her old master son. No, I don't think, he didn't say Ahsoka and Luke met. He's saying that Ahsoka has had training her whole life with a lightsaber, and Luke really hasn't had a ton. That's what he was saying. Of course, I would love to see them meet, but who knows? Brian's number 2, the attention to detail. Favreau and Filoni debating on how Luke would close his hand to crush one of the Dark Troopers, right? Again, the things that they think of, the stories that they tell and how they tell them, I just love that. I absolutely love that so much. Nick, number 2, Plo Koon fake outs. Okay. Sorry, I got a weird pop-up on my computer that I wasn't expecting. The lengths Dave and John were willing to go to keep the secret of Luke's return are incredible. There even appears to be a green astromech droid that was created to disguise the identity of R2-D2. You're right. And I hadn't thought about that. I'm like, why am I seeing it green? Is that a lighting thing? But of course they were trying to disguise him. Yes. Well done, sir. Well done, Nicholas. Number 2 for Amber, the emotional connection with John and R2 and seeing the drawing of R2 and Grogu. Wasn't that just spectacular? It really was. Colby, Filoni drops absolute gold during these gallery episodes. Yeah, he's a genius. He really is. Luke is what Anakin would have been if he didn't turn to the dark side. Interesting. And imagine if Luke had Anakin's training too. Woof. He'd be even more powerful. And that's saying something because Luke is the man. All right. So number 1, let's go into our number 1. Number 1 for me, Favreau's emotions. So Mary, I believe, talked about this a little bit ago. But hearing Jon Favreau talk about how during the filming and even in the recap for the episode we watched, when he talks about seeing R2-D2 and Grogu together, how choked up he gets, and then it reminds him of how much emotion he has because of Star Wars and what it means, and the fact that he gets to tell this story. And to me, it's like these two worlds colliding of him growing up, R2 being the symbol of that, and then Grogu, basically his creation, or he was one of the main creators of the Grogu concept. I think he was the one as far as the idea. But seeing him get so emotional about that, it's like, oh yes, we know Jon Favreau's a genius. We know he's a great storyteller. We know he loves Star Wars. It just made him feel like a part of us, like our fandom, like how much we love Star Wars. The nostalgia, the emotion, the stories, the characters, the fun, the spectacle. He gets it, he gets it like we all do, and he loves it. And I was very moved by that. I just thought that was a bravo moment. Daniel's number 2 was the Lola software egg and deepfake tech. Yes, isn't that cool? I like that they call it Lola too. Josh says, I always enjoy listening to Dave talk about Star Wars in depth. Time to get him on the podcast. Right? I loved how he talked about Star Wars is fundamentally about hope and must always deliver a good and hopeful feeling. It's also so great because that's such a broad and versatile theme. There's room for anyone to branch out and do their own take on Star Wars. I agree. I love hearing him. And yes, we would certainly love to have Dave on the show. I've met him several times, talked to him a bit, but we never had him on the show officially. We interviewed him at some cons and we had him on there. But just have like a one-on-one interview. He's very busy. Dave Filoni is very, very busy. But yes, of course, he has a standing emotion. Dave, you have a standing emotion to come on the show, my friend, of course. Josh, Mark's emotions. Aren't they beautiful? So good. And capitalizing on that, Brian says, Mark Hamill, the Mark Hamill on the set of The Mandalorian, igniting his green lightsaber. Exactly. Like what? It's like our fantasy of what we would wish for and our deepest desires of what we could see on screen. A young Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker at the peak of his Jedi powers. And we got to see it. And it was great. It was just great. Number 1 for Nicholas, it was nice to learn how excited the crew was to put Luke into The Mandalorian, as well as how Favreau and Filoni wanted to be respectful to Luke as possible, to be as respectful to Luke as possible. It shows that The Mandalorian is truly made by those who care. That's right, which makes it very special. Jamie's number 1. Favreau, Filoni, the whole group really, and their genuine enthusiasm reminded me more of exciting children than filmmakers. They spoke of moments that they just wanted to be fans and they had to contain it to get the job done. I know, don't you feel, Jamie, like that would be something how we would be if we were on the set and we were making this? You just have to kind of keep it in check, but inside you're like, oh my gosh, look what I'm working on. Amber has seen the connection between Mark and Luke and how willing Mark was to come back to Star Wars, and I feel like he always will. It's great. Number one for Ross, how much Hamill, Filoni, and Favreau truly care. They get it, and we know that. Yes, very similar to what I just said. It's just very moving. Mary's number one. R2, how both Dave and John react to R2. How Dave loved the reactions John had. How emotional John was talking about R2. You saw their love of Star Wars. Ross had a great review on the show on Fantha Tracks, and I love this section about this. I agree, and thank you for mentioning that. Ross had a wonderful review on Fantha Tracks, driven by Mark Newbold. Great site. So thank you for bringing that up. Ross always does great reviews. Daniel's number one. Mark did not know he was part of the episode. Love to see his home. Makes the episode even better knowing that some of his body movements and language are there. Yes, and the actor who was the stand-in basically for Mark Hamill looked a lot like Mark when he was younger. Christina, sorry for not contributing to the discussion tonight. It's 10 a.m. for me. I'm working night shifts and just finished 5 of 7. I enjoy listening to everyone's ideas before going off to bed. No problem, Christina. Get some rest. And, of course, as you know, you can get the replay on Facebook, on our Instagram TV, and naturally on our YouTube channel. Ross, thank you, bud. It's very easy to tell the truth. All right, thank you, everybody. Again, this episode was wonderful. The emotion of it was just great. The nostalgia and hearing all of your thoughts here was just beautiful. So thank you so much for sharing it. Let's look at next week's topic. I had all these clone things in mind, but we keep getting good stuff. So we're going to go with it, man. How about top 5 moments from the Lego Star Wars? The Star Wars Saga trailer just came out last week. We got to see a ton of gameplay. So let's hear your top 5 moments from the Lego Star Wars, the Star Wars Saga trailer. Again, that is coming. That'll be our top 5 next week. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into Ask Dan Z. All right, time to Ask Dan Z. This is a chance where you're going to ask me what I can answer about Star Wars, about podcasting, Coffee with Kenobi, all that fun stuff. Mason is very excited about next week's topic. I was excited to share that with him in the car today. Josh is number one. The right way to do it, like what Peyton Reed said, when bringing back a character like this, it's very easy to usurp the drama and emotion, which is why I personally struggle with the Vader scene in Rogue One. Interesting. I say I love that scene, but I understand what you're saying. I really feel like they did it the right way and like to hear them talk about it. I think they brought Luke back in a way that didn't usurp the emotion and made sense. Like Dave said, that really the only person that we would be comfortable sending Grogu away with would be Luke. Yes, the only one. The only one, for sure. Ahsoka would have been fine. It would have been cool, but Luke is the ultimate. I mean, if it's not Luke, then what are we doing here, right? He's the most powerful Jedi, and that's Luke is in his heyday in the Star Wars world 5 years after Return of the Jedi, so it has to be Luke. Josh is excited. It is going to be fun. What's my favorite legacy lightsaber that I have in my possession? Good question. So, let's see, I've got the Darksaber. I've got Kylo Ren's saber. I've got Luke's from Return of the Jedi. I've got the reforged Anakin Luke lightsaber from the Rise of Skywalker. And I've got Ahsoka's from Clone Wars that changes from blue to green. And Luke's from Return of the Jedi, I said that one already. And the one I built. Legacy lightsaber, I mean, the Darksaber is pretty great, but it's brand new. But honestly, Ahsoka's are spectacular. I love those. They're really nice. There's some more that I want, of course. I love all of them for very different reasons. But the Ahsoka Tano Clone Wars one is pretty spectacular. Now, this one is great. Again, this one is great. I'm going to turn on again just because I think you all want to hear the sound, and you should. It's cool. Love it, right? Love it. The best thing about these legacy lightsabers, besides the sound is accurate in the weight of them, but they're just really well put together. They all have unique sounds to them, which is great. Daniel, does the blade change color? Does not. It's just the black and white, like it is in the actual series, The Mandalorian or in Rebels. I feel like the animated one is a little bit darker, but it would have been hard to make it darker and actually be able to see it. Ross wants to know how great of a hockey coach is Colby Mead. Well, undoubtedly, he's great. I'm sure he and Simbot, Defterdarian, are awesome coaches. There's no doubt about that. Josh really wants the Canon Rebels Ahsoka lightsabers. Really, to own every legacy lightsaber would be preferable to those two. Definitely. There's never been a Canon one that they've sold. And if they do, Mason and I were talking about this last week. If they do, I'll be excited about that. And the Rebels Ahsoka one is already out of circulation. So you may have to get that one on eBay. Jamie, not a question, but when you mentioned Lego Star Wars, it reminded me of the Advent calendar comes out September 1st. That's right. Not sure if these sell out quickly, but I'll be ordering mine right away. Very excited for this. Thank you for reminding me of that, Jamie. I've got to get on that one too. Those are fun. They're just fun things to do. And there's a Marvel Advent one that's coming out as well. Colby in his typical humble self says extremely subpar. Ross, extremely. Undoubtedly, your players would disagree with you, Colby. You're a good dude. Any news on the Rogue Squadron screenplay / movie? There's been zero news about it, for sure. I don't know what rumors are out there because I don't pay attention to that stuff. But as far as official news and things in the trades, the official trades, I've heard nothing. But we're still a few years out. So, hopefully soon we'll be getting a trailer for the Book of Boba Fett since it comes out in a few months. So I don't know. Your hopes shouldn't be dashed, buddy. You never know what's going to happen. Maybe they'll re-release it when the Ahsoka series comes out, because of course she'll be super popular all the time, but there'll be a sort of a reinvigoration of that once we get to see her in her own live action series on Disney Plus. All right. Wonderful, wonderful stuff. Well, hey, thank you everybody so much for joining me every week at Facebook Live every Monday night at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. Next week, we're going to again talk about your top 5 favorite moments from the Lego Star Wars, the Star Wars Saga trailer. That's going to be a great time for sure. So we always have fun on Coffee with Kenobi, and it's fun because of all of you, because of your passion, because of your enthusiasm, your positivity, and your intelligence. And your personalities are great. I'm just very happy to be a part of this wonderful community, and I can't thank you enough for joining me. Hey, next week, when you come on CWK Live, be sure to bring a friend. Or when you're watching the show, tag or share it out that you want to so we can bring more people into things as well. Are those pieces of lightsaber hilts on your display behind you? Yes, some of these you have to unscrew because the actual ones, for example, let's see. So Luke's right here. If you look, this is how it is on display, but there's no blade that fits in there, so you unscrew the top and you put that one on back there, and that's how you can get the actual blade in. So yes, that is correct. That is correct. We've been blessed the past few years with Star Wars Entertainment. Yes, we are. Josh wants to know, am I a fan of Mission Impossible? I've been monitoring news from MI7 probably a little too closely. Yes, I recommend Light the Fuse. Drew Taylor was my guest last week to talk about Star Wars Visions. He is a co-host of the Mission Impossible, the best Mission Impossible podcast, Light the Fuse. He's seen the beginning of the new Mission Impossible, and so I definitely recommend that. Nick, thank you, buddy. Ross, thank you. Mary, thank you so much. And happy Labor Day to all of you. Yes, next Monday will be Labor Day, but we'll still have CWK Live at 7 o'clock p.m. I hope that you will join me. Bring a friend, spread the word, tag your Star Wars friends and family, and let them know that we have a place for them in the booth of Coffee with Kenobi to talk some Star Wars. Have a great rest of your week. Be on the lookout for Coffee with Kenobi this week, where we'll be talking about our top 5 moments of Star Wars nostalgia. Those moments that spoke to us when we were kids, when we first fell in love with that galaxy far, far away. Until next time, everybody, have a good one. Remember, this is the podcast you're looking for. See you next time.